So let's get started. So as you can see, we have the box. We created that last week. We're gonna go ahead and get started with the lid. So as you can see on my screen, you just click this button here, and then you can see the other box ends up becoming transparent, okay? So we are pretty much selecting a new field to get started with the lid. So, and here, if I press the eyeball button, you see it disappears. Now, if I do that right now, it's gonna be hard to create the lid, right? Because we don't see the box. We pretty much have to kind of create it, based on what we're guessing. We don't wanna do that, so I'm gonna click on the eyeball, make sure it's there, and then I'm gonna click on this little circle. Once the little black dot is in it, then we are getting started. So everybody go ahead and say create sketch. Just click on it. And now just for a review, you know how we selected the different planes and faces, of course. So we want to select the lid, this part, this face here. Okay, so you see right here when it highlights. Okay, so click on it. See, it made it blue. I'm going to use our pan tool. As you can see here, where my mouse is at the bottom. When you click that, you can move the screen. This is just for view adjustments, okay? And then on the top right, you click select. Just to go back to the sketching tool. Click on the 2-point rectangle. Now there's two ways we can do this. So we can start from the origin and stretch it out. We can do by dimensions like last week. If you don't remember the dimensions, I will show you that as a review. So once we click on the box here, you don't have to do this. You don't need to follow me if you don't want to. But once you do this and then you click on the sketch, when you double click on it, at the bottom, you see the timeline. You remember the timeline? So the timeline right now, when we created the first box, it shows all the dimensions. So we can change these right now and change our whole box size, which we're not gonna do, but just for reference point. Remember the timeline, that's very, very important. Okay, so finish sketch. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the lid, select the little dot. Gonna go to sketch, click on the 2-point rectangle. So selecting it here. I'm gonna go ahead and just type it in. So it was a 30mm tab and then 60mm. So you remember the tab will lock in that position that you, or the dimensions or whatnot that you put in. So then I'm gonna press enter. So once you press enter, you have created a new sketch. All right, click finish sketch. Now, on this view, just click the home so that readjusts the view, okay? And we're going to use the extrusion E, okay? So go ahead and click that. And this is the cool part here. So you can select whatever part you want to extrude. So you left click once on it, and then when you left click again on it, it will deselect it. So, of course, this one's not gonna cooperate. You just let me zoom in. There you go. So once you can select it. So what we want to do is, of course, we want the lid to match the box. So what you're going to do is select this and then select the middle, okay, to extrude. Now you can see. So we're not going to do the sharp corners because we want them to be rounded, just like the box. And then you can just either hold in this blue arrow, or just type in the dimensions. So let's say if we want a 4mm thickness, let's just do 4. Yeah, that'll work. And then go ahead and click OK on the right. All right, I'm gonna pause a little bit. So we just created our second component, and it is called lead. Here it is. So now I'm gonna move on. All right, so this is the home view. So we want this to be the front. What we're gonna do is just go to the back by clicking the corner of the box, okay? And we wanna start a new sketch, okay? This new sketch would be the hinges coming out of the lid. So create sketch. Hover on the face you would like to create the sketch on. So in our case, it would be this face here. And I'm gonna zoom in a little. Use the scroll to zoom in and out. We're gonna do the 2-point rectangle again. And I'm just gonna click just on a random spot I want my hinges to be, okay? And of course this is 4 millimeters thickness, so we do 4 millimeter by 5. So it'll be a 4 by 5 box. Press enter. Now you can do, since we will need 2 hinges, what we can do is copy and paste it. So go ahead and once your selection tool is selected, double click on it till the whole thing turns blue, like this. Okay? Now, if you have a Mac, you can hold Control or Command C for copy, or Control C for copy if you're a Windows user. So Command C, and then Command V as in vector. So now, make sure you have these arrows. Do not click anything, okay? Control C, and then Control V. So what this does right here is it created a copy. You can move it using this box. Please don't do it. Use the arrow. And I'll tell you why. Because when you move the arrow, it will move it only on the vertical or the horizontal side, okay? But if you use the box, it's just gonna be unprecise. It might just get out of the scope of the actual lid. So anyways, use the arrow and move it away. Roughly what we're gonna do is eyeball it, since it's not a big deal at this in this instance. So go to move it and click Finish Sketch. So now we have 2 boxes.
Hey, Arash.
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt, Arash. Shay has asked that, Shay said I got a little lost because I moved the plane. Could you go back a little bit? Like, can you restate what you did a little bit, like, quickly?
Yeah, I can undo this. So I'm gonna start from the beginning here. So click on the 2-point rectangle. Click on a spot you would like for your hinge to be. And then put in the dimensions. So it's gonna be 4. And then press tab, and then 5. And then press enter, okay? So now double click on this till the whole thing turns blue. And then hold Control or Command C to copy. And then now let go of the buttons, and then you press it again. You say Command V for paste. And then once this appears, this little button, do not click it, but what I was explaining was this will move it freely anywhere. This would move it upwards vertically, or we want to move it horizontally, which is this arrow here. Hold that and just move it. I'm gonna go ahead and move this over. Okay. So the pan tool is very useful as well. And then you use the select tool here, you click back on it. And now you can actually just move it. So now you see how it does this. This is that little square I was telling you about. Now, to fix that, to take it back to where we have those arrows, you can always just click on solid. You see where my mouse is? You click on solid, because it was in sketch mode. You click on solid and you click move copy. And now I can bring it back, or you can bring it down. But of course it's not matching, so I'm gonna just go ahead and cancel and just delete this box. But if you follow the steps I said, or actually just undo, there you go. So double click, Control C for copy, Control V for paste, use the arrow, and then move it out. Okay. Oh, no, this way. There you go. Finish sketch. Okay. So now what I want to show you is, of course, we use the extrusion. So click on extrude. Click on this once. Move your mouse over. Click on this also. So now you can select multiple surfaces or multiple faces to extrude. We want to extrude it out to 5 millimeters. All right. Once that's done, click OK. All right. So now we have the top part of the hinge. They're of equal sizes. You can just change the view if you like. I'm gonna home it. I'm gonna go back to this corner here. Okay, so now we are gonna move back to the box because see, we need to have a hinges that attaches to the box that will attach to the lid. So go ahead and hover over box 1. Click on the circle. So now we're back to editing this, okay? And what we want to do is we want to create sketch. Again, there were the shortcut keys. So I believe S is for sketch, but do that on your own time. Just learn the shortcut keys because they become a lot useful once you're constantly sketching. So we want to select this face here, right? Because that's where we're going to have the hinge, the other part of the hinge. So click on it. Same idea, but I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to use the rectangle. I'm going to zoom in a little. And a little bit, we're going to set it off a little bit off of this one here, okay? So just a little bit, like maybe a millimeter away. Now, again, doesn't have to be quite precise, and you'll see why I'm saying that. So click here. The dimensions will be 4 by 5, just like the other one. Click enter, okay? Same thing we did for the lid. Double click, Command C, Command V, and move that over. And then of course, right, you see how this screen is obstructing what I can see? You just click on the pan tool, move it over. All right, and then, yeah, this select tool ends up messing it up when I go back to it. So I'm gonna just undo, move it over. I know there's a way to get these arrows back. It's just for some reason not cooperating. I might have forgotten how to do it. Anyways, click OK. So now you have 2 just like the other one. Ah, I knew it. I actually copied and pasted it twice. So delete. All right, there you go. All right, so same idea here. We're gonna extrude. So, we have to, everybody, make sure you click finish sketch. All right, now we want to extrude. So select this, we want it to come 5 out. And then click OK. All right. So we have a problem here, of course, because this is a terrible design right now. This cannot float up in the air, right? Let's say if we were to 3D print this, this would not work whatsoever. So what we need to do is have like an overhang support. There are many techniques to use, but since we are all beginning, I'm going to show you again just using the extrude. Click on extrude. Click on this face here, click on this face here, and let's bring it down 5. How about 5 millimeters? And click enter. All right, look at that. So now this will be attached to the box, right? And then what we can do is, you see where my mouse is here? Click on the fillet tool, or F. You see some of these actually show the shortcut buttons. So let's say if I right now just hover over, click F, and then click it, right? Same idea, right? So I could have either clicked here or just clicked, pressed F. So click here. 2 ways we can do it. If we move in the arrow, we can visually see what we like, or we can just do dimensions. I want to visually see this one just so you guys can see it too. So what I want to do is I want it to be, let's do 5, right? Or I can't see. Okay, 5. Yeah, 5 millimeters. See? All right. Click OK. So this is more of a cosmetic, and also it just looks better this way. All right. Now, okay, so we're done with the hinge part, but well, the main construction part of it. Now what we need to do is put holes in them. I'm gonna also I'm gonna show you I guess like a type of sketch trick, right? So so I'm gonna sketch. I'm gonna go click on this face. So see how the view right now, it changed it. Well, if you move this box, now you can see where we are actually going to be sketching. I'm going to zoom in a little, and I'm going to click on line, okay? Now, when I click on line, what we can do is we draw a line, but this line is more for actual designing, so that line will always be present. Unless, so go ahead and I'll explain it. So go ahead and click on the line, and then let me do it again so you can see. So when I move my mouse around, you see how there's like a box and an X and then an X. We want it to be this triangle form. This is pretty much the center of this line here. So you click there, draw it down. If you guys remember, the box was 4 millimeters when we originally drew it. So we want to come 2 millimeters down. What I'm trying to do is find the center point of that box. So you click here. So, and now you see how it wants to continue drawing. Like you can continue drawing the box. You just click on the check mark, meaning you're done, or you can press the escape button, either way. So now we're done. Now, this is what I was trying to tell you guys. So when you click on the select tool and select this, press X, it turns into a dotted line. So this is pretty much like a pencil drawing. If you're, let's say, cutting a piece of wood, this is like just to give you a reference point. It serves no other purpose than for the engineer to be able to see this, okay? So once let's say when you're done with this model, this line means nothing, okay? So go ahead and click on the circle tool. Go right here. And we want to make a 2 millimeter circle. So click 2, press enter, and then finish sketch. We use the extrude. Again, I'm going to do the technique I showed you guys last time. Over here on the extent, you want it to be to object. So extent, instead of distance, we want it to say to object. And then you select the object face that you want this to go to, which is this side. All right, click OK. All right, so now we have one hole here. Now we'll be doing the same on the other side. I will take this one slowly also, but then when it comes to the lead, I'm gonna go a little bit faster. I know some people might have mastered it and some people might not have, so I do wanna go through it again. So sketch tool.
Hi, Arash.
Yes?
Someone asked, how did you find the center again?
Well, I'm gonna do it in this step, so just follow me along, okay? So I clicked the sketch tool. I selected the face I want to sketch on. Move this slightly just for my own visual help. So then you click on the line. Now, when you hover your mouse here, let me zoom in. Well, it won't matter if I zoom in, it's still gonna be tiny. When I hover my mouse here, when I get to the center, it does this triangle. And you just click it, and then you come down 2 millimeters. Press enter. Click on it. Press X. Now you could press X right as you draw the line. So when I click here and press X, it would automatically do that. The only problem with that is it will, for the next sketches you do, it would automatically assume that you are trying to just do a draft sketch. So I don't want to do that. So I draw the line first, then I click on it, then select X. And again, once you keep on doing this consistently, you become a lot faster. I mean, right now it might be like, well, why do I need that? I'll just draw a circle. Up to you. It's a hinge. For the hinge, you want it to perfectly align for it to function well. So anyway, so click on the circle. So that was the center, right? So this is a 4x4 or a 4x5, right? Because we extruded 5. So anyways, we found the center of this. We brought it down. So click here. We want it to be 2 millimeters. Press enter. Click finish sketch. Click on extrude. Click on the circle. Move your view. All right. And instead of distance, we wanted to say to object. And ooh, why is it doing that? And then you want to select this face. So it wants to go from here. You select the other face of it to go to. All right. Okay, so this is I mean, these are some of this is review, some of this is new for you guys. So now we're gonna go to creating a joint, right? So making a joint will make this. So what we want to do is we want to animate the movement of the lid so that we can see the animation while this is a full object. So I'm gonna go ahead and oh, okay, so everybody, so you know how like you select here, one highlights but the other one is transparent? Well, what if we want both of these or all of whatever components we have? What if we want all of these to be visible? Well, you just click on the full project on all the way to the top. You see here? Just click on that and boom, there it is. So this is the box we have created, all right? Now, the animation part is very useful when you are making things like different types of articulating parts, and you want to get rid of certain kinks in them. So right now, so to get started, what we have to do is we have to ground the box, and here's why. Because right now, I can just grab the box and move it around no matter where. It is floating, figuratively speaking, is floating in space, okay? So what I want to do is I want to be able to ground this in space, right? So what you do is you go to hover over your box, not the lid, but the box, right click on it and click ground. Once you do that, see it has a little pin thing. That's pretty much the symbol for ground. So now look, I can't move it. I click it, can't do anything. This is grounded now. Now I can move the lid, right? But what we're gonna do is once we create the joint, it's gonna be attached to this box. So let me go ahead and recenter. All right. So here's a cool part. And now this is why we created different components. And I learned this the hard way. When I didn't create different components, if you only have, let's say, one component, but then it has 5 different pieces in, you cannot animate it. You have to have different components for the software to recognize that this part here, this lid, is a separate part from this. If you don't do that, the software won't know, all right? So I'm gonna take this really slowly because the joint part will be a little bit tricky. So now we're gonna go ahead and click on box, click on the circle, okay? Actually, no, sorry, click on the lid, click on the circle, so it makes the other one transparent. And what we want to do here is click joint. All right, now you see this little half circle thing here that when I move my mouse around. So that's going to select one of the revolving joints, like wherever you want it, right? So what I want is I want it to be, ooh, okay. I want it to be the center here. So everybody move it. You see the center dot? See how it like just kind of like a magnet, it just attracts to it. I want everybody to go ahead and click there. So I clicked it. Now don't click anything else, because right now what this is doing here is it wants to find the other part where it would be a joint width, I guess. So we need two components. See over here it says component 1 is lid, which was the lid we selected. Now component 2, we haven't selected it. So it's waiting for me to select, okay, where do you want the other part of the joint to be? So you see how I move it forward and it selects the whole cylinder here? So go ahead and click on that. Done. Look at that animation. Isn't that cool? Now don't click anywhere else. We're not done yet. Now we want, you see how it ended up sticking this right to it? Well, that's going to throw off my lid, as you can see here. So what I want to do is I want to offset it. So click on this center arrow and move it as an offset till it matches your box. Now, it might not be precise. Again, this is for visual use for now. So you just move it slightly over. So it'll be 1 millimeter in my case. Now, in your case, it might be different. Try to get it as close as you can. So move it over. That's the offset of the z-axis. Okay. Once you're done, click OK. All right. Now you're going to have this this little flag looking thing. Now this is what this is going to do is this is going to let you know that this is a joint. This is for you being able to move it around. That's actually, last week I showed articulating robot hand. That's actually all I used was these different joints to make the fingers move so I can animate the movement. And the coolest part is, let's say if we had another joint to this joint, they would all start moving. They would all start moving based on the laws you've created. Now, that's something you can do on your own time. There are plenty of YouTube videos online available for that. So make sure you check them out if you want to make a lot of articulating parts that depend on each other. So I'm going to press the home button. Now look at this. You remember how I could move it freely? Well, now I can't, because now it's joined to this box. So that's really useful when you're making articulating parts. Isn't that cool? All right, so click on the box here. On the box on top, click here so everything is selected. So now see how we can move it around. Now we can start inspecting our part now, because back when I wasn't familiar with all of this, what I would do is I would 3D print these two parts, because right now this looks great, right? I would 3D print them, and then once I would assemble it, I would notice like, oh wait, it's getting stuck here, right? So if we do here, and you guys don't have to do this, just go ahead and watch this right now. So when I click on inspect, and where is the, where'd it go? Craft analysis, zebra analysis, interfaces. What does that do? So I'm going to say capture position. Oh, that's not it. Trying to find something. Sorry, guys. Was it in construct? No, anyways. Well, how about this? I can't find there was a layer view where I could change it where you can see the layers, but I can just show it to you right now. So over here, you see how this part is right now intersecting the other part when I move it? Well, that's going to be a problem once this is 3D printed. We need to get rid of that. So I'm sure some of you might have guessed it. What we can do is we can use the fillet tool here. So press F or just click fillet, select these two. And then again, you can either visually or just type it in or whatever. So I'm going to do 3 millimeters. Now either type it in or just move the mouse in. So yeah, look at that. It looks like we have enough clearance. So I'm going to click OK. And let's try it again. Let's move this. Let's slowly move it. inspect it, make sure it nowhere is touching. You want to always add a little bit more. It seems like this is fine, right? So yeah, so good, and click home. So this is done. Now what we want to do is we want to create holes on the lid. All right. So let's get started on that. So let's go ahead and go back to the lid, select the circle tool, or not circle tool, sorry. Select this activating component button. All right, and same idea that we did. Now, another cool thing is we don't really need to use the dotted lines for this one because you'll see what happens. So when I click sketch, where is my sketch? So when I click sketch, I'm gonna move this. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, so when this happens, you just press the home button and it resets everything. So I'm gonna do the side view. And I don't know if you guys can see, you might want to check it out on your own computer, but there is a little, that little flag is kind of showing. So when we do the sketch on this face, and then when it asks, you can say capture position because I just closed the lid. It asks if you want to capture that position. So anyways, so I selected this face. I click circle and look at this. When I move it, you can just move it to where that flag is. Now, again, I don't know how easy it is for you guys to see, but anyways, when you move it, you can just move it out. So you click where that center was, press 2 millimeters because that's what we want the whole size to be, same as the other one. All right, that's done. Click finish sketch. I'm gonna zoom out. All right. And we're gonna extrude it inwards. So we want it to be to object. I'm going a little bit faster. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. Click OK. Now here's a good way to visually inspect it. When you click on these panels, so you see how it says back. Well, we don't want back, but we want it to be side. So click on this one arrow here. So now that's showing right. And look at that. So it's showing, you can see that the holes align all together. We're going to now home the view. We're going to go on the other side. So click on the box here. Again, this box is my favorite. I don't know. Some people might use different techniques. There are many ways to do this. There's good button combos. I actually don't know what the button combos are. So if somebody does know, let me know. I'm too lazy to even Google it, but so anyway, so go ahead and click on the sketch tool, select this face, and circle 2 millimeters. And click finish sketch, extrude, click on this. Change the view slightly to object, this other side. Click OK. All right, so now we have the holes. Click on the left view, like on this box. Look at that, you can see all the way through. So that means we did a good job. Well, I did. I don't know if you guys did. Hopefully you did. So okay, so this is done now. Now we have a full box with the holes. Now, if you are planning on 3D printing this is fully 3D printable. Now, one thing to note: this when I move it, see, it might end up hitting that wall. Well, actually, it will end up hitting that wall. But that might be a feature, right? You want it to actually hit it so that it kind of stays in place. Now you can also round that off. That's your choice if you want to. So yeah, so that's it. Now I do want to add another thing. I want to add a pin. So I want a pin that goes all the way through here. And it keeps this together. So that would be a third new component. So so everybody go ahead and right click on the box, on the actual box, you see it says V5. Right click on that, say new component. So now we have a third component we want to add. I'm going to click on it once, click on it again, click on it again. So I can type in, so I want to name that. I want to name it pin. Click enter. All right, so let's get started on the pin. I'm going to go ahead and start the sketch tool. You guys feel free to do the same. Click the sketch tool. I'm going to put it at the bottom. We'll end up moving it around, but right now I just want to start off here. So, and of course, because again, it'll ask you every time, because once you move things around like the lid or whatever, it'll say capture position. It's asking you. So you just say capture position. So now we're on the fit, or on the side we want to start drawing or start sketching. So I want it to be a circle. Let's make it a 4 millimeter circle. Press enter. Yeah, as we're going through, you're starting to notice we're just going to be pretty much reusing a lot of the stuff that we have learned, and then we're adding some new tricks and skills to pretty much change this around. So finish sketch, extrude this. I want to extrude it 1 millimeter. Okay, click OK. So that's the flat part of the pin, I guess, right? So we want to do another sketch on top of this. Click on, so you click sketch, you click on this face here. And then you click on the circle. Now this is cool here. So see how you move it as a plus looking thing, and then when you move it to center, it makes a circle, meaning that's the center. So the holes we made were 2 millimeters. So let's make this slightly smaller to just give it a little bit of wiggle room. Now you can change that based on what you want, but what I want to do is put 1.5. So that's 2 millimeters. This is 1.5, so it would slide in easily. So click enter. And now what we want to do is extrude this. So I'm gonna, click finish sketch. Click extrude. Extrude this out to, let's do 10 millimeter. So I'm gonna keep moving it out. Okay, 10 millimeters, or you can type it either way. Done. Let's home the view. So there's our pin. All right, so now let's go ahead and start moving this around. So if you hold your mouse, you can move it around, as you can see. So a good way would be, you can always click here. Now, before we do that though, so let's change our alignment, our view alignment. So click, go ahead and, so this is already, or this is already selected. So click move. Oh, well, it wasn't selected. Let me click cancel. Let's select this. So what I did was I held the left button and moved it over so it selects the whole thing. Click move. So don't click anything right now. So you see how this is like, now it's like, it's a little offset. Like, it's like, okay, well, which direction do I go? Am I turn into out of alignment? Well, this is pretty cool too. When you click on, let's say click on this black back panel here. We click that, see, it's got rid of all the rest of them. It actually, now you can precisely move it up exactly how much you want it. So what we're doing is we're visually just, moving it. So let's say right here, and then you can use this little circle here to move it this direction or this direction. Well, we want it to be 90 degrees. So it locked it in right there at 90 degrees. And now I'm going to use this arrow again to move it over. Okay, so I'm going to move it over. Again, this is just to visually assist us, right? We're going to move it over. Now I'm going to change my view to see on the other side how aligned it is. Okay, so click on this arrow here. You see where my mouse is on the right? Click right there. Oh, look at that. So it wasn't even close. So now all you do is you just move it over. Now it becomes a, this is the best way I have found to move things over to precisely show you what you want it to do. So let's say on top view, if I move it and see, it's roughly, you know, this is our hole. So it's roughly there, so it's good enough. If you do it the other way, let's say if you move this around, again, it can work. So right now, in this case, it actually will work perfectly. Just to, you see how it does it by like it doesn't do it by full numbers, but see now it's actually precisely centered. So now I'm going to click OK. All right, look at that. So there's the pen. There's the transparent view. Oh, wow, look at that. It fits, but this is not long enough. All right. So this is where the timeline becomes very useful. So it was when I extruded this middle pen, right? So you just click on that extrusion point. See, this is selected, everything else. So we're still working on the pen. We're not done yet. So you just click on the extrusion, double click it. So it takes it back to the view you originally had it, which, and again, it doesn't matter at this point. So I'm going to make it, let's say instead of 10 millimeters, let's make it 13 millimeters. So that's 13 millimeters longer. All right. And then click OK. Now this is the cool part too. So once you click OK, look at that. It puts it back to the view you had it. So it becomes a lot. It's very, very great for tweaking. So if you want to tweak things around, change dimensions, make this box bigger, you know, whatever you want to do, this can work. So this pen will pretty much keep this in place, and then you can, of course, just copy and paste it here. Or if you're 3D printing, again, you just end up just printing this pen twice, and you just put it on the other side, and that'll keep the lid in place. Now, again, there's other techniques. You can, let's say, put a hole here where you can just put a little wire through it, and that would keep it from, you know, keep this pen from moving outwards. You can make this side slightly thicker, so you just kind of push it in, and then once it gets on the other side, it will stay in place. You can do those on your own time. We are actually, hold on one second. All right, my laptop was about to die. It was on 3%. All right, so anyway, so that pretty much concludes this lesson. Now I'm going to click on the whole box so everything becomes fully highlighted. So yeah, click the home view. We just made a box with articulating parts. And again, this is ready to be 3D printed. Now, I had a gentleman show me how to do this. So if you want to, let's say, 3D print these parts, this is a cool thing I found out the other day. If you want to individually 3D print these parts, if you click on, let's say, just the box, see everything else is not is transparent. Well, if you just click them or click them to become invisible, so when you click on the eye here on the left where my mouse is, when you click on it, it disappears, right? Well, now if you select File, actually select the whole box, and then File, and then Export, and a common extension is the .stl. So this would, I did it, and it does take a while, so I'm not going to do it. But when you click export, it actually ends up exporting this box only. So then you can 3D print this box individually and then do the rest, you know, of course, with the lid and whatnot. So yeah, so that is it for today, guys. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Arash. So someone asked earlier, I believe this was during the part where you're putting the circles for the pins. And they said, well, Eric Moore said he used to use Inventor, and there was a tool in Inventor called Slice Graphic that removes everything in front of your drawing. Do you know if there is such a tool in Fusion 360?
Removes everything from your drawing. I don't understand the.
Everything in front of your in front of where you're drawing. Sorry.
Oh well, I mean that's the. I mean,
To see to the plane, it virtually, it doesn't remove, but it virtually removes everything in front of the plane that you're actually drawing on, and allows you to see just the plane exactly where you're drawing.
Okay. Is that any different from me just clicking these? Is that not what we're talking about, or like
No, like say you wanted to draw something inside of the box
okay.
on the back wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You click that plane, and then you could click that slice graphic, and it would.
Oh, I see.
The back.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're asking now. So you click. So right now, like I want to draw here. I click. Capture position. Sure. Yeah. So now you're seeing this wall instead of this wall, right? That's what you're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll show you. See, that's where I was trying to figure out, or trying to show you guys. Where is this? Oh, there it is. This is what I was going to do. All right. So this in the analysis here, this is what I was going to show you guys. Yeah. I'm wondering. Okay. So let's say if I just put it here, right? So I just pretty much cut the rest of it out. Click OK. I wonder if now if I try to just draw on the box, which I actually am in sketch mode. Yeah. So that's it. See. I actually just learned this, believe it or not. I mean, yeah, so once you cut that part out, again, this is just for visually inspection, but you can now start, drawing whatever, and that whole front part is gone now, as if it doesn't exist at all. So yeah, that's how you do it. I'll show you. I just figured it out myself, so I'll finish sketch. Let me get rid of that, delete that step. So, all right. So, what I did here, how do I get it back? Huh? Inspect, selection analysis.
What was it? Section analysis?
Yeah, section analysis. Yeah.
Inspect, and then I think section analysis.
Yep. And then you select whatever face you want to analyze, and then you just kind of cut it through. Now, the question is, how do we get it back, right? CMS, the section analysis. Yeah, it's not taking it back. So don't do it unless you're sure how to get it back to that view. I actually never really used that. So that's why I was like, oh, wait, this is selection analysis. I'm just going to do undo, see if I can take it back to where it looked like. Okay, so I got to figure out how to do. But anyways, what I was trying to show you earlier, so when you do selection analysis, you can select the face, and then you can just cut it through, so you can see if there are, like that's the intersection point right there. So that's what I was trying to show you. And then I just click cancel to take it back to what it was. Now, when I did that and started drawing on it, I didn't know how to revert that back other than just undo. And I noticed it never did anything on my timeline. So, so that's something to just Google. You'll figure it out. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to figure that out, because it's like, I want to take it back to what it was, because it's just an inspection tool, right? So yeah. So hope that answered your question. I'm wondering if there are better ways than doing what I did, but I can do my research, and you make sure you do the research too. I'm sure there is a better way to maybe make this part disappear while you draw on the other side. Any other questions?
One thing I was wondering is, in Fusion, can it 3D print threads, or is there an option to put threads on?
Yes. Yeah. So here,
because I know Inventor will allow you to put threads on, but then they're just visual. They're not really there. So when you 3D print it, they're not really there.
Yeah. Yeah. So There is an option you have to click on that. It's the same with Fusion 360. So let's say if I want to create a thread here, so create a thread, and then we want it to be here, right? And you can, you know, select the profile of it. Remember size, that's not what it was. Modeled. Okay, so you have to select the modeled. If you don't do that, it's exactly what the inventor does. It just visually shows it to you. Because these are, a lot of these are, I guess, I'm not sure actually why they only visually do it. But anyways, when you say model, that actually ends up carving it out. Like, so now when you try to 3D print, look at that. It's not just visual, it's actually there. You actually have threads. So so did that answer your question? So let me delete that step. So
it will actually print the thread.
Yes.
See, an inventor, you could get it to, but there was an add-in, add-on you had to download.
No, this one, yeah, when you click on create, the drop down, okay, we click thread and then click here. So this is what you're talking about. So when I click OK here, this just visually does it. That's exactly what the problem you were having, an inventor. But when I, let's double click, when I click the models, that actually ends up carving it out. So this will be 3D printed exactly with threads. When you check that box. Cool. Yeah. So when you check this box, modeled. Yeah. No, I'm going to take that out since we don't. Actually, we could thread it. That's a good idea. Good idea to make, you know, that pin stuck, right? So if I thread, well, no, I have to make one of the holes bigger. But anyways, that's neither here or there. But you could make one side threaded and then make the pin end threaded. So when it enters here, it would actually be threaded to each other, and then this would be the loose part. So this hole has to be bigger. So you can always retrace your steps back. Oh, by the way, also on the timeline here, this is the timeline for everything we have done. It's not just, so when you select a specific item, see the timeline shortens because it's only the timeline for this. So you can always go back and change some of the dimensions to make that pin actually threaded and actually have it thread in here. So then you're set to go. And then another cool thing is, this is something a lot of people end up doing when it comes to like visually showing, let's say if you have a YouTube channel, you just click play here and it shows you everything you have done. So while, you know, so you can always record this just to show it to people, just to pretty much show off. If you spend 14 hours and you want to be like, hey, look at all the work I did, you just press play and it just goes through every step and it shows the build of it, right? So